Two workers' unions within the South African Police Service, the Police and Prisons Civil Rights Union, that's POPCRU, and the South African Police Union, SAPU, say solutions needed at SAPS should be forward-looking and go beyond individuals. SAPU is calling on President Cyril Ramaphosa to drastically do something about the state of policing in the country as a matter of urgency. The union says it has written to the Office of the President, but there has not been any response or action. POPCRU, on the other hand, is demanding the implementation of the recommendations of the two expert panel reports, namely the Marikana Massacre as well as the July 2021 unrest. All right, POPCRU and Media Communication Officer Richard Mababolo and SAPU National Spokesperson Lesiba Thobakgale join us now to have a conversation. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Morning.
All right, let's start off. How does the union's leadership and your constituencies, who are SAPS employees, categorize the challenges faced by the SAPS? Richard, let me begin with you.
Yes, thank you, Lee. And it's quite regrettable that the SAPS has to be dragged in the mud over differences of personalities, especially now that there are other external challenges that we've obviously been complaining about, which include budget cuts and, of course, the lack of effectiveness of the capacity of the SAPS in actually servicing communities. So at that level, when you have these differences that are exposing themselves in the form of two personalities, it's quite saddening. And of course, we think that since the mandate of the SAPS, policing mandate, comes directly from the Constitution, unlike many other departments, it's quite important that we've got a stable leadership that will take the organization forward. We are currently having our provincial congresses where a lot of delegates across the provinces have expressed dissatisfaction in the manner in which certain things have been done with the SAPS, but as well as focusing on their challenges, the working conditions. I think over the past weeks, we've noted the levels of mental challenges amongst police officers, the killing of police officers, and yet there has not been any plan over the years in actually addressing some of these challenges. So we are looking beyond personalities. We're looking into how we can actually improve policing in the country. Delegates are actually engaged around that, and we think that this organization is far bigger than two individuals, and of course nobody is irreplaceable. So we definitely want to see changes taking place within the SAPS.
Yeah. Richard, I just want to quiz you on something. You're saying the conditions and the way that the police officers are feeling right now and the morale that's happening within the force. Do you think a lot of it's been there for a while, we know this, but do you think it's being exacerbated by this relationship that we are seeing and a fallout between the minister and the commissioner?
Most definitely. You know, when you work in an institution where somebody is supposed to play a policy role and another is supposed to play an operational role, but you cannot distinguish between the two, you know, there's overlapping of duties. That is why, as POPCRU, we have been calling for the restructuring of the SAPS to deal with the duplication of roles at the top level, but as well as to deal with the infighting. The levels of infighting is something that has been there. That is why we're saying that just dealing with the two personalities will not necessarily bring the SAPS into stability. We need to look into its operational mandate and how it can actually be improved. So restructuring is part of ensuring that beyond the two individuals, we get to have an SAPS that is well functioning and that can obviously ensure that the work is well coordinated. Currently, a huge chunk of the budget of the SAPS ends up at provincial and national offices, whilst there is a shortage of boots on the ground. And of course, within the capacity that the SAPS currently has, which is around 177,000 members who have to look after a population of over 60 million, you still have about 30% of those who are office-based, and still a further around 40,000 people who are trained police officers but based at national and provincial offices. So that generally undermines the capacity of the SAPS. Budget cuts again have been another problem because the president had made a commitment that we need to have violent crimes within the next decade. Yet you've got a Ministry of Finance which acts as some form of a prime minister who takes decisions that are not in line with what the president commits to. So we're quite looking forward to seeing what the budget speech will entail with regards to obviously reversing. We're concerned about the budget cuts that have been made up to so far, but we want to see as to how they will also be reversed. One of the other main issues that has been a problem within the SAPS is that, for example, today we're expecting crime statistics to be released. We feel that statistics should cover the entire criminal justice cluster. For example, statistics are supposed to give guidance to police on which areas to focus on in actually dealing with crime. But when we look at the statistics for the past 5 years, you'd see that there are no serious decreases, meaning that as much as they have identified these challenges, there isn't much work going into that. That also speaks to capacity. So the SAPS should obviously give details about the crimes reported, but we also need to know from the judiciary about the extent of prosecutions, and of course the Department of Correctional Services should obviously talk to us about the extent of rehabilitation, because that is their core mandate as well.
Okay,
so as long as these institutions do not work in unison, we're going to still have problems in the future.
All right, Lesiba, let me bring you into this conversation. So in the intro, and this is a call from SAPU, you're saying that you want the implementation of the 2 reports by the panel of experts to start with the Marikana report massacre, and now more recently this report into the July unrest of 2021. If we just focus on the latest report on the July 2021 uprising, what happened? How do you explain these 8 days? What went wrong?
When we look at the July unrest report, it clearly shows you that the lack of coordination between different departments within the SAPS contributed a lot. And also, remember, the ministry and also the Office of the National Commissioner, where crime intelligence is reporting under, the very same country, crime intelligence does not have an appointed divisional commissioner, because clearly restructuring has not been implemented, which was blocked by the minister since we concluded that agreement during November 2020. So those are some of the issues where communication amongst both of them and lack of clear coordination, and where roles themselves to say, what is the role of the minister with regards to what should be happening? What is the role of the National Commissioner, who himself, he is the operational commander, as he is the accounting officer. So the July unrest clearly showed us the spaces where indeed there is a vacuum within the SAPS in terms of coordination between the divisions, between the police itself and also the police ministry. Because you have seen in the report that the versions that were given there, the minister gave a different version, and the National Commissioner also gave a different version, of which our expectation is that their heads should join together, because they are working in the same department. They are working to fight crime and to ensure that there is peace and stability within South Africa, and even the South African police service itself. But where they do not agree within them, amongst themselves, we have seen that there is not even a provision in the law that brings a third person or an arbiter who would come and say, you know what, National Commissioner and Minister, you do not agree with the appointment of the Provincial Commissioner of Northern Cape. As we speak, we don't have a Provincial Commissioner in Northern Cape, clearly because the National Commissioner and the Premier there do not agree. But there is no one who can come in and say, let us bring both together, because the law does not make that provision. And clearly, what we are seeing happening between the minister and the National Commissioner, it is clear because the National Commissioner resisted to allow political interference of politicians. That is why we have this spat that is happening between himself and the minister, and it is costing our members. It is costing how the service is supposed to perform. It is costing on what is the mandate of SAPS in terms of what they are supposed to deliver. And remember, SAPS works on command and control. The National Commissioner is supposed to give marching orders. But if the minister is able to articulate those allegations in a highest body, being in the parliament, how will members respect the National Commissioner? How will members then take instructions coming from the National Commissioner So we strongly believe he was supposed to elevate those issues to the president, not to bring them in public like that, because already he's criticizing the police, but he is the police minister.
Indeed.
So politics indeed are killing our South African police services, and we need to have, like we had the Jali Commission in the correctional services, we need to have a board of commission that will look into the whole of SAPS, not only into the national commissioner and into the minister. We need to, because already from the time of Minister Thobakgale being the national commissioner, when he brought a lot of people into his structure, when he had a general being his national spokesperson, you cannot have somebody like that. So since then, even when Pierre came with his commissioners, you find that those who come from the previous national commissioner, already they are left disgruntled because they are not being utilized by the current national commissioner. Okay. So that in itself, it has caused cabals within the South. Even now, the current situation to deal with it.
Yeah, indeed. Let me try and keep the answers a bit shorter because we have only got about 3 minutes left. So I want to try and get both of you in. So, Lesiba, I mean, you're saying it's costing police officers a lot. In turn, as well as lives. I mean, let's look at the amount of South Africans that have lost their lives due to what you're saying is not a coordinated response to anything. And this is a big problem. It really is a big problem when we know that there's a breakdown of SAPS processes right now between the minister and the national commissioner. Who must go? Or must they both go? Because the reality is that we've seen the reports, we've seen what they've said. Somebody has to go, or both have to go. Who, in your opinion, should hold the blame for what is going on? Lesiba, quickly, if you don't want to, you can answer that, and then Richard, I'll get the same from you.
For us as SAPU, whether both of them go or both of them they remain, that is up to the president. But the fact remains that the problems we are seeing are beyond the minister. They are beyond the current national commissioner, who's Ketasitol. We need to deal with the issues because they did not start now. As we said, the board of commission will be the one that will assist. Even if we can bring somebody else now to say, okay, maybe we say that the national commissioner goes or the minister goes. If somebody comes and inhabits SAPS in its current form, we would still have the very same issues because political interference is still something that is prevalent within the SAPS and even the issue of coordination of the divisions and so on.
And that is a big problem. You've written to the president. Has he responded to you as yet?
Unfortunately, we have written to him several times. We have not received a response. We only rely on what he pronounced during his zona, but we don't see action. It's time for action. Only him pronouncing without taking a step in this matter. It is not assisting the country, it's not assisting our members, it's not assisting the SAPS.
All right, Richard, very quickly, who must go? I mean, the same thing, same question to you.
Yes, just quickly, as POPCRU we have started, we have not only been looking into ways of dealing with this matter, but we have actually suggested what we call the restructuring of the SAPS, which we believe will bring about the necessary changes. And that process has already been agreed on within bargaining councils. The only delay is that it's implementation. So we have been doing something about it. We do not want to dwell into personalities because at the end of the day, we believe that this union is, the institution is far bigger than the two individuals. So we would obviously want to ensure that, whatever we do, we avoid certain, actions or rather characteristics from repeating themselves in the future.
Yeah, certainly is. But at the end of the day, somebody has to be held responsible for what we saw. Whether we look at Marikana, where we look at the July unrest, and I know it's bigger than two people, but right now, those two people are the ones that we look to for leadership. We're going to see crime statistics being released today. And one can almost be guaranteed that those crime stats are going to, again, show the loss of lives of way too many South Africans because of a spiraling crime rate.
Hence, we're making proposals about crime-related matters being the competency of the entire criminal justice system instead of it being only linked to police, because there are many other factors that have to do with crime. And of course, we cannot on a daily basis speak about the crime statistics without necessarily looking into what has been done with regards to the process, the entire criminal justice cluster synergy in actually ensuring that we get, we reduce the reoffending rate, We know how many people, of course, the judiciary is processing. And of course, if there are challenges, then why not look into having a consolidated budget of the entire criminal justice system as opposed to each one doing as they wish?
All right, leave it there, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Those were representatives of the two workers' unions at SAPS. That's National Spokesperson of SAPU, Lesiba, Thobakgale, and POPCRU Media and Communications Officer Richard Mababolo, ventilating their views on what seems like a breakdown at the SAPS, part of which was blamed on the dysfunctional relationship of the top leadership as a huge contributor, according to the recent panel report on the 2021 civil uprising.